Election Day is just a couple of weeks away now, so today we're sharing election do's and don'ts to help you, the voter, make an informed decision about issues that matter to you and your family. For that, we're pulling in KSL political specialist Egan. He's covering the election. In fact, he's all over the TV, keeping us informed. He has a few strategies to help you make the most of your vote. I want to ask you, first of all, we're watching this from the outside and making our own assessments about what kind of a volatile election season it is, referring to the presidential election. What's your inside look? How would you describe this season politically?
Don't you think just completely unexpected? No one could have predicted where we are now. And also after we've had all three debates, that, you know, it has gone to a new low, many would describe, in terms of the dialogue. And we are now in the final stretch, kind of a closing argument time for this election.
One disappointing thing that I'm hearing just in my circle of real friends are, listen, I'm not comfortable with either candidate, so I'm just not going to vote. Your first do is get out there. Your vote matters, your voice matters. Yeah,
this year your vote really does matter. And Utah, you know, reliably red normally for a presidential candidate. This year, Utah is a battleground state.
What does that mean? Define that.
That means that they can't predict if it's going to be Democrat or Republican. And in fact, this year it looks as though a third-party candidate could win Utah, and that's Evan McMullen, who's running as an independent. He's a former CIA guy, he's a BYU grad, and he's kind of the anti-Trump guy. And we saw way back in March on caucus night that Utah wasn't quite comfortable with Trump, and that's why maybe this third-party candidate is getting some play and a lot of national attention as people think, wow, look what's happening in Utah, not as predictable as we once thought.
Are you seeing Evan McMullen himself get a lot of national attention? His name's popping up in my Facebook page on both sides of the fence, but he's really picking up some steam?
Here in Utah, he's definitely gotten some traction in some polls. Some polls he's even with Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. One poll had him ahead of the major party candidates, and now he's spreading out to Idaho, Arizona, maybe some other areas with an LDS population where he could get some traction. So definitely people are paying attention.
What type of turnout is expected this season?
We have mail-in voting in a majority of the counties in Utah, and they're thinking that could help with turnout because it's easy. You have that ballot, you can look it over, you can digest it a little bit and mail it in at your convenience, and so that could help with turnout.
An unprecedented election, as you said, with unprecedented ugliness. I'll use that word. How can voters get past some of the sensationalism and get more to the substance?
I would say because you have a mail-in ballot, take some time to look it over. You can Google, you know, if you don't know about a race, and also realize you have options. With the presidential race, if you don't like the two major candidates, there are some other candidates on the ballot.
And let's go back to that mail-in ballot just for a moment. There's some worry that there could be some confusion about that. It's new to a lot of voters. So what do we need to know as far as the mail-in option?
I would say the number one thing, the directions are pretty clear, the instructions, but many people do kind of wait. You might want to see what the news cycle is. You may not want to mail it back right away, but if you wait too long, if you wait until Election Day, you cannot put it in the mail on Election Day. It has to be postmarked the day before, which is Monday the 7th. But if you put it in your mailbox on the 7th and the postman doesn't pick it up and stamp it until the next day, it will not be counted. It has to have the 7th on there. So I would suggest if you're waiting to the last minute, go drop it off. There'll be some bins around to drop it off, or go in and just vote in person. You can hand in your mail-in ballot and instead just vote at a machine.
At the location. And then you say make sure and sign it.
Yes, if you don't sign it, they can't count it either. Sometimes they will have time to reach back out to you and say, hey, you forgot to sign it, but I wouldn't leave it to chance. I would make sure to sign it.
There's a lot of talk about writing in a candidate. So what's your advice there?
In fact, Google said that that's a huge trend, people Googling write-in candidate, and here in Utah as well. But there is a big problem with this, is that, you know, Mitt Romney, hugely popular in Utah in 2012, and I went over to the county clerk's office in Salt Lake County. They had a huge bin full of hundreds of mail-in ballots, and Mitt Romney's name was on a lot of those. And I asked them about it, and they said, we, by law, won't even count those. So if you write in Mitt Romney, Bernie Sanders, some of these other names, they, by law, will not count those. It will never be added up, and so your vote for president won't count. You actually have to be a write-in candidate registered a few months ago for that to even count. So that's a big message for people who aren't comfortable with Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump. Just be aware, though, if you're writing in another name, it's not counted.
You said you spotted even a couple Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, there's some Mickey Mouse. I saw someone said Donald Trump's cat. I didn't even know about his cat.
Okay, but essentially, if you're writing Mitt Romney, you might as well be writing in Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, because it won't count.
Doesn't count.
He is not a registered registered write-in candidate.
Can voters skip races, or will that mean your vote won't count in the end?
That's a big question, because the ballot, you may be surprised at what's on there. You know, there's judges, there's these propositions, constitutional amendments. You can skip whatever you want. Whatever you do, make a decision on, that part of your ballot will count.
The presidential election is obviously dominating a lot of the conversation and the headlines. Are there any other local votes or elections that voters might find interesting? A
few that maybe pertain to families. Jordan School District has a huge bond. It's $245 million. They want to build 6 new schools. Also in Salt Lake County, a proposition for about $90 million for parks. So those things. But we do have a gubernatorial race. We've got some congressional races. So there's a lot out there. And when you get your ballot, you'll be able to see exactly what you're able to vote for.
Well, you're a busy guy. You've done a great job keeping KSL viewers informed. So thanks for making the time today.
Year for sure.
We appreciate it.